When you're trying to make a laborer, a worker, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did not want proud people. He wanted us to be humble. And you know how some of us were and are. We got these big egos with nothing in our heads. We are very arrogant. We can't wait to get an authority over somebody so we can show off, how powerful we are. Jesus had all that trouble with his crazy disciples. And Elijah Muhammad had all that trouble with us. He was like a man asked to perform a delicate operation with a screwdriver. And he did the best he could. And Malcolm was the best that had come to Elijah Muhammad to represent this teaching. Of all Elijah Muhammad's ministers, in my judgment, Malcolm was top shelf. He always kept the Honorable Elijah Muhammad out front. Wherever he spoke, he said, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught me this, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught me that. In fact, when he came to the nation, they were calling Elijah Muhammad Mr. Muhammad. Isn't that right? But when Malcolm got here, they started calling him the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Malcolm introduced that. He wanted to see the leader in the dignified position that a man of his quality should be in. Malcolm knew what he was doing. He honored and respected the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's family. He loved all Elijah Muhammad's children, and he was treated by Elijah Muhammad as one of his own sons. Elijah Muhammad loved that man, and that man loved Elijah Muhammad. I never saw a man more fierce in defending Elijah Muhammad than Malcolm X. I learned basic things from Malcolm. He was a wonderful teacher. He was such a good example. I never heard Malcolm cuss. Every now and then on the rostrum he would say hell or damn. But I never heard anything else. I never saw Malcolm smoke, drink, or even hint that he needed one. I never saw Malcolm eat in between meals. The teaching of Elijah Muhammad was one meal a day. And in the 10 years that I knew Malcolm, I never saw Malcolm eat in between meals. Malcolm was a praying man. When I would stay in his home, he would get me up at 4:30. So we could make Salatul Fajr. Malcolm was devout, but Malcolm was revolutionary. And he had a character defect, as we all do. But I heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say that his strength was his greatest weakness. How can a man's strength be his weakness? I've seen men come in the nation, and when they hear the law taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they have the strength to live it. And they became captains, teachers of the law. But they were so strong in the law till they couldn't countenance the weakness of their brothers and sisters in their failure to live up to the law. So their strength became their weakness because they weren't tolerant enough of the shortcomings of others to raise them up to a level of strength. Some of us are like that. Have you ever noticed some of us who can give exercises and do jumping jacks 3, 4, 5, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000. We get in front of a class. Come on, we're going to do jumping jacks. And we're going to jump jack till he falls out. Just to show I got the endurance. I'm greater than you. See, that's sickness. That's imposing your ego and your vanity on your class. Elijah Muhammad, a marvelous teacher. He taught us humility. And one day he said to me, because I used to boast a lot, and I didn't even realize how arrogant I was. And sometimes, the eye beholds everything else except itself. And so, you're looking out, but you're not looking in. And I found myself to be arrogant, but I didn't know it. And the messenger had listened to my tapes, and one day I sat at his table, and he said, brother, you can tell the righteous. They walk the earth in humbleness. Then he pointed to the Holy Quran and says, Allah loves not any self-conceited boaster, for their boasting is in his ears like the braying of an ass. And the braying of an ass is the most hateful sound in the ears of Allah. Then he said to me, brother, no matter how heavy you are, you can't step through the earth. Now some of you in here pretty heavy. Some of you weigh over 300 pounds. And next to some of these thin ones, you may feel like a giant. But go stand up next to a mountain and see how big you are. So he said, since you can't step through the earth or equal yourself up to the mountains, why not take your place as one of Allah's creatures and be humble? These are the lessons that he taught me, he taught Malcolm, he taught Brother Abdullah, he taught us all, didn't he, brother? And when we messed up, didn't the Honorable Elijah Muhammad have a way of teaching us and spanking us and punishing us that he made us better? You belong to organizations. These organizations ain't trying to make you better. You'll be the head honcho. You. What is your reason for being the head honcho? You shoot straight. Whatever that means. Ain't nobody trying to make you a better person, challenging you when you mess up. But Elijah Muhammad challenged us. Whenever he felt that we dipped when we should have rocked or deviated, he would stop us and upbraid us and correct us and reprove us and admonish us. And he whipped Malcolm many days to make Malcolm a better man. You weren't there. What do you know about it? Malcolm, you fell in love with, was made by somebody. And the Farrakhan that you're falling in love with is made by somebody much bigger than he is. You weren't there when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad chastised us. You don't know anything about that man's ability to chastise. His son is in the audience. His son will tell you, nobody came to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that didn't get a whipping. I'm going to say it again. Nobody came to Elijah Muhammad that didn't get a whipping. Am I telling the truth? Did we get whippings? We did. Sometimes we didn't think we deserved it. And he would beat us on general principles, just to see if we had the humility to take a beating when you think you're right. You didn't hear me? I'm telling you what he did to me. I'm not before you as the kind of man that I'm becoming in no vacuum. My mother didn't teach me this. Elijah Muhammad put me on the radio to make a broadcast. He said, brother, I'm going to try you at this broadcast for 4 weeks. And he sent me a letter and he told me what he wanted me to preach. He said, and I will let you know after the 4 weeks if I want you on any longer. After the 4 weeks, I came back, smiling. He said, that was pretty good, brother. You can go on for another 2 weeks. This time you say what you have in your mind. After the other 2 weeks, which made 6 weeks, he said, well, brother, I'll give you 6 more weeks. And he listened. Every time I would make a tape, I would have to send it to him first. He would clear it, then he would send it throughout the country. You know how it is when you get a lollipop that somebody gave you that's theirs? And you start sucking on it till you think it's yours? And then they ask you to give it back, and you get an attitude. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, listen to this carefully. He said, well, brother, you can go on now for 6 years. And all the while I was making the broadcast, I would write each word down and measure each word. It would sometimes take me a week just to make a half-hour broadcast because I strove for perfection. That's the discipline that my mother gave me in trying to make me a musician. I never performed a bad performance. Never in my life. I worked hard at my craft so that I could always give my best. My teacher told me at the end of 3 years, he said, brother, don't write your speeches out. Just go and stand up. I said, don't make any notes. He said, no, brother, just go stand up and let Allah speak through you. And I did it for 4 years. And then I did it everywhere I went. I never would make notes. And I can wake up in the morning in the dead of the night, sleep, and preach. And call scriptures from everywhere without looking at a note. Because I studied 8, 9, 10 hours a day. And I studied my teacher. One time in the broadcast he said, brother, I'll be coming back to the radio next week. Let the people know. Now I've been sucking on that lollipop a long time, brother. Elijah Muhammad said, I want it back now. You've been saying I was coming back. Now you can tell them I'm back. I made a tape. Hearken unto the voice of God. Because see, one thing you can't fool a man that's that wise. He listens to your words, how you form them. He listens to the inflection of your voice and the spirit of you. And he can tell whether you want him to come back or whether you feel bad that he would take his own broadcast back. Like I'm telling you right now, I'm standing in his place. This ain't my place. So I can't get too used to his seat. He may claim I'm living in his house, not mine. I may get a knock on the door one day. Do you live here? So a man in word should never get comfortable with borrowed goods. And everything you got belongs to somebody else. So why act like it's yours? Always act like what you got is from God. And he will call it and require it of you as he pleases. Don't get too happy over your talents, your gifts. He gives them to everybody. So when you think you're great, look around. Somebody coming up greater yet. I love flowers, you know what I mean? And every spring when I see the flowers and the spring and everything unfold, I say, man, this is so beautiful. And then winter comes and the flowers die. The spring comes back again. It ain't the same rose, but one looks just like it. So don't fool yourself about how great you think you are. You and I are going to pass away, and God is going to bring somebody in our place to do the job as well or better than we're doing it. This is God's work. Now let's get down to business. What was Malcolm's motive? Let me tell you the arrangement that Malcolm and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had, which maybe you may know about or may not know. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told Malcolm, I'm going to put you out front and make you known that you will make me known. What kind of deal is that? In the days of Moses, Jehovah was not known. Jehovah put Moses and Aaron out there so that they could become known, so that they could make Jehovah known.